Hi, this is Kevin Dart from the Fastener Lab, and this video is just a continuation of taking our 3D object and laying it out for fabrication purposes. The last video we put some shoulders on this back piece, and the next step is to cut out holes on our sides, because if I highlight this, all I'm looking at right now is just a solid piece, and I need these holes here so this back part can fit in, this bottom, and these rods here. Now, the first thing I noticed is that these rods aren't sticking all the way through, and the easiest thing to do is to just scale them in essentially one dimension so that it just sort of extrudes it a little further. So I'm going to come to my side view, highlight that, and I'm just going to select both of these, and I can come up here to scale, one dimension. And I'm going to put my midpoint snap on, so I can snap the midpoint of one of these objects. I'm going to hold Shift down, or snap to an end, and then I can just extrude it out. And I'm going to go a little further, just to make sure that it's sticking out. And there we go. Simple as that. I'll go back to my perspective view, and I can see the little nub sticking out there. So the next step is to subtract essentially these things sticking out from this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come up here to solid, and I'm going to do difference. And so it's going to ask me select poly surfaces to subtract from. I'm going to select this guy. I can also select this guy at the same time. I'm going to hit enter. I'll hit done. And then I'm going to select these poly surfaces. Now it's going to ask me to delete the input here. I don't want to delete the input because I want to keep these pieces. So I'm going to select the pieces. And with this chair piece, I want to make sure I'm selecting the poly surface, not the surfaces or the curves. And I can hit enter, and it's going to figure it out. So when I select this piece, see now I have these holes here, which is awesome. And down here and over there as well. Now if I look here, it actually did a little bit extra, which is not what I want, because it was just probably so close to the piece. So I'm just going to do a little Control Z there, and I'm going to go back into my view, and I'm going to move it back just a hair. But we do know that theoretically it will fit. Now the reason for that is that it might not have been exactly straight. Let's see, that's good. And I'm going to move this back a little bit as well. So unless you know everything is perfectly straight or perfectly perpendicular to each other, this might happen. Now this file was just made by a former student, it's not a bad file, but sometimes things aren't exactly lined up, and it could cause little things like that to happen. And the reason we want to make it as precise as possible is we don't want any extra lines or anything. So the CNC cutters don't cut any extra stuff. So now I'm just going to go back and redo that Boolean difference. Select my sides. Done, and then I won't delete the input. That's good. Select my pieces, and I'll hit enter. And there we go. That's good. We don't have any of we have an exact hole of that shape, which is awesome. So now we can start to lay things out. But one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all of these things to a new layer. Because the easiest thing to flatten these is to unroll them, essentially. So I'm going to select all the solids. Actually, I don't need those rods because they can't be cut out. All right, so what I can come over to is I can go copy to layer. And I'm going to hit new layer. Oh, let me change the name. Well, I'll select that layer for now. And then I'm going to call this layer explode because I'm going to explode everything. And so I'm actually just going to turn that layer on and hide the old layer. And you see there's some information that is now gone, which is good because I don't need it anymore. One other thing I want to do is I just want to get rid of that mobile construction plane. I'm going to go to set C plane. I'm just going to go undo C plane, and then it goes back to normal. So now what I can do is I can pretty much just select everything, and I'm just going to hit explode. And what that does is it breaks everything into essentially its different parts, because right now it's made up of actually a bunch of different poly surfaces. So I'm just splitting them into single surfaces. Which is exactly what I want. And now if I want to get it laid out on as flat as possible onto the XY coordinates plane, all I have to do is go to Unroll. And this just takes all the hassle away, and it's just unrolling the surface. So that's why I exploded everything, is because I wanted to get these individual surfaces. Let's see, relative tolerance, that's good. I'm going to select this surface. And I don't want to explode it. I'm going to hit done. And then you see it unrolled that surface right there. And I can do that for the other ones. I'm just going to move this. Now if I hold shift down, it's just moving it in the X or Y axis. But that's fine. So what I'm going to do is keep rolling things. If I hit enter, it just redoes. So there we go. I've got 3 pieces. And theoretically, this piece should be the same as this other side. Theoretically. I'm just going to trust that theory, that these two were made at the same time, and we'll go from there. Now I'm just going to make a new layer, and I'm going to call that surface layout. And I'm going to change these, move these, edit layer, change object layer to that layer. And that way I don't have that 3D object there, and I can go back into my top view. And then from here I can start laying things out for CNC cutting, however many pieces I need, which will be in the next video. So thanks for watching.